The smile, we all do it. We all love it. It's kind of universal. But the reason why people smile, that's a little less so. The smile has been with humans for as long as we've been around. But what exactly is a smile? In fact, what is it about smiles that are so damn contagious? And how did this facial expression go from something that only made people feel good to a way to survive life or death situations? Today we're breaking down the tragic legacy of the smile. So let's get into it. Smiles have existed for as long as humans have. Evidence suggests that our ancestors started smiling at least 3,000 years ago. When early humans were living in tribes, being part of a group was vital for survival. After all, humans aren't built to live on their own. You see, back in the day and even today, there was always strength in numbers. Humans needed each other for everything from hunting wild animals to protecting each other from, well, pretty much everything else that wanted to eat us. And in a group setting, being able to show your teeth in a friendly manner was an important way to communicate. A smile meant you weren't aggressive and were part of the tribe, which meant you wouldn't be stabbed in the throat by one of your hunting buddies trying to protect the food supply. But over time, the meaning behind a smile changed. During the Renaissance, people started to use smiles to express amusement and happiness rather than just to signal friendliness. This was likely due to the rise of individualism during the period. People were no longer only thinking about how they could contribute to the greater good of their group, but also about themselves. This focus on the individual led to the smile becoming a way to express personal emotions rather than just group affiliation. The evolution of the smile didn't stop there, though. In the Victorian era, women began using smiles to attract potential partners. This is because the smile became associated with youth, beauty, and femininity. This trend was likely driven by societal norms and expectations of women at the time. Women were expected to be demure and attractive, and the smile was seen as the perfect way to achieve that. Even then, the meaning of a smile continued to change throughout the 20th century. Psychologists began to study the smile in depth, and new findings led to new interpretations. For example, they found that the Duchenne smile, which involves the zygomaticus major muscle, is the genuine article. Meanwhile, the V-shaped smile, which only uses the zygomaticus minor muscle, is more of a polite and kind smile. Basically, the Duchenne smile is when you're actually happy, while the V-shaped smile is more of a social courtesy. So why does the smile mean different things to different people, and why does it continue to evolve over time? Well, it's all thanks to context. The meaning of a smile depends on the situation it's used in. For example, if someone flashes you a big grin while telling a joke, it's clear that they're amused and are sharing their joy with you. However, if someone gives you a tight smile after you ask them how they are, it's clear that they're not really interested in talking. Essentially, the meaning of a smile is determined by the facial expressions and body language that accompany it. As we've mentioned, the meaning of a smile can depend on the situation, but there are some common themes that run through most of them. For example, when you smile, it usually means that you're happy, amused, or friendly. However, smiles can also be used to express other emotions, such as nervousness or awkwardness. For example, you might smile when you're nervous to try to make yourself look more approachable. Or you might give a tight smile when you're feeling awkward. In some cases, smiling can also be a defense mechanism. By smiling, you can hide your true emotions from others, which can be useful in situations where you don't want to reveal how you're really feeling. For example, you might smile when you're angry or upset to avoid starting a fight. Smiling can also be used to manipulate others. By smiling, you can make yourself appear more likable and trustworthy, which can be useful in situations where you want to persuade someone to do something. For example, a salesperson might use a smile to close a deal. Ultimately, the meaning of a smile is determined by the context in which it's used. However, there are some common themes that run through most smiles. Generally speaking, the smile is a positive facial expression that can be used to express happiness, amusement, or friendliness. However, the smile can also be used to express other emotions, such as nervousness, awkwardness, or even anger. Ultimately, the meaning of a smile is determined by the context in which it's used. If you think about it, the smile has gone through some dark times. In the wrong situation, it can be a sign of deception or weakness, and believe it or not, there are even some situations where smiling could get you killed. For example, there's the case of the 26-year-old woman who smiled at a man she didn't know and ended up being kidnapped, sexually assaulted, and strangled with her own bra. Thankfully, she managed to escape and survived the ordeal. The trauma of the event caused her to develop post-traumatic stress disorder, which makes it difficult for her to trust others and causes her to be hyper-vigilant in social settings. This story goes to show how the simple act of smiling at someone you don't know can have serious consequences. And unfortunately, there are many similar stories out there. For example, there's the case of a 24-year-old woman who was walking home from work when she was approached by a stranger. The man asked her for directions, and when she smiled at him, he thought it meant that she was flirting with him. He then attacked her, but thankfully she fought back and was able to get away. These stories are tragic, and they serve as a reminder that it's important to be aware of your surroundings and to trust your gut. If you get a bad vibe from someone, then it's probably best to stay away from them. It's easy to see why people would be afraid to smile at strangers after hearing these stories. But it's important to remember that smiling at strangers is generally a safe and harmless act. Most people won't have any negative intentions if you flash them a quick grin. However, it's important to use your best judgment and to be aware of your surroundings. If you get a bad vibe from someone, then it's probably best to stay away from them. Now, smiling can help you get through dangerous situations. Let's take a look at another extreme scenario. Imagine you're hiking in the woods when suddenly you come face to face with a bear. What do? If you're like most people, you'll probably scream and try to run away. But those actions may cause the bear to attack you. Instead, experts recommend that you stay calm and try to make yourself look as big as possible. Make yourself look bigger by standing on your tiptoes and waving your arms above your head. And this is where the smile comes in. When you flash that bear a big grin, it'll send the message that you're not prey and it may just keep you from getting mauled. Some people say that smiling can make you happier. But what's the science behind that claim? There's a theory called the facial feedback hypothesis. Put simply, this hypothesis states that the facial expressions you make can affect your mood. For example, if you force yourself to smile, it can actually make you feel happier. Conversely, if you frown, you'll likely feel sad. Studies have actually shown that this is true. In one study, participants were told to hold a pencil between their teeth, which forced them to smile. Another group of participants were told to hold a pencil between their lips, which caused them to frown. After doing this for a few minutes, the participants were asked to report how they felt. The results showed that the participants who had been forced to smile reported feeling happier, while the participants who had been forced to frown reported feeling sadder. Now, here's the kicker. You don't have to be faking your smile for it to work. Simply smiling can make you feel happier. Of course, this doesn't mean that you should be smiling all the time. Sometimes it's important to let yourself feel sad or angry. But next time you're feeling down, maybe try putting on a smile. It just might make you feel better. The smile was never just about joy. It became armor, currency, survival. But knowing that, seeing the cost behind the curve of a mouth, is where healing starts. So smile if you do, for yourself this time. Not because you must, but because you choose to.